We are live from the Kingdom of Bungie. I hope you guys can hear me okay. The microphones seem to be working. It looks like it's working pretty good. Hopefully we are live here from the Kingdom of Bungie. We're starting right on the nose, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you guys can hear me, fire it up in the chat here. Let me know that you know that this is going on. I'll do some shout outs real quick. You guys can see what this is all about. This is the Crossbow season wrap-up live stream. Kind of the end of the archery version for Pennsylvania of the virtual deer camps, because the hunting is over here in the Kingdom of Bungie. In Pennsylvania, the archery seasons have ended. The crossbow season is over. Hello to friends of Bungie, such as Vince Phillips. Hello, sir. Hello to you, George Lauro. We've got a lot of people on here. Holy cow, some new names as well. People that I'm not familiar with the names, haven't seen them before. And I've got other people such as Lever Action. Good to see you again, of course. Old Grumpy Hunter, Gary, I hope you're doing really good there. Jason Robinson, hello to you. Yakking Patton, good to hear from you. We got all sorts of folks here that are coming back here. It is great to hear from you. It's great to see you guys on here, and I really hope that we have a great evening today. I've got I got some neat pictures to show you. Kaboom, there we go, huh? There we go. Here I am. I got my camo on, wrapping up the Pennsylvania crossbow season. Ended yesterday. Had a great year this year. I have nothing to complain about. Here in Pennsylvania, I ended up shooting 2 deer, and I shot a doe earlier on in October. I'll show you some pictures of that. Shot a nice 6-point buck. That was the subject of this episode thumbnail. Can you see that right there? That's the antlers from that nice little buck. Wasn't setting out to shoot any particular buck this year. I didn't have pictures, but we'll talk about all that in a second here. Friends of Bungie, look at Norman Neighbors is here. We've got all kinds of folks that I recognize. The names, Mark Hunt here. Good to hear from you once again. Just got Bill Scott's here. We got all Locks Bog. Hello there. Hello to you. All kinds of Andrew Finley. Got all kinds of names I recognize. It's great to hear from you guys. I've been a little lax on the virtual deer camps here on getting on here and doing this stuff. I know that I have not done it. In fact, I didn't turn on my light back there. Hold on. I have this neat little light that sets up it's really bright, but we'll turn it on here. If I can get it figured out here. Remember how I always do, you guys have seen this before. I always turn on this little light here to make it nice and light the place up a little bit, right? Give it a little bit more of a, I don't know, professional feel or something. I don't know, whatever that is. But I'll turn the light on, all that good stuff. I got the lights on here so you can see me talk and all that. But this is pretty much what we do here. Randy Wakefield, yes, indeed, it was a good year. I hope it was a good year for you guys, too. You guys are just... Bill Scott, backstraps and pancake batter. That is coming. I'm doing it. I actually have them set aside, and I started looking at a couple of different suggestions as to the recipe for that. But that is something. You've talked about that before. I am doing that. Moose Junction Hunter made it to our live stream. Look at that. She's on her way to do some hunting and stuff and had a great year so far. Killed an October buck. How awesome is that? So great that she got a chance to share that with us. I think that's fantastic. Jason Mallory, good to hear from you. A lot, like I said, man, just the names of you guys coming back. I really do appreciate it. After I shot that buck in Maryland, the real nice big 8-point there, and put that video up, I kind of took a little bit of a break. I actually just focused on hunting here in Pennsylvania. Not really trying to fill the freezer anymore when I came back from Maryland that second time. But I owe you guys a video, actually 3 videos, just to give you an update here. There is a video coming this week, hopefully, from the Maryland Sika deer hunt. That video, I've started editing it, and I should have it all done here shortly and be able to upload that this week, I'm hoping, toward the end of the week. After that, I'm going to show you the actual videos. Today I'm going to show you some footage, and not some footage, but some pictures that were taken during our Pennsylvania 37 Days of Awesome. Show you some pictures of my doe from Pennsylvania, my buck from Pennsylvania, and I will share that with you, and then we'll take that information, or take all of that, you'll be able to see that, and then hopefully I'll be able to share with you down the road some really nice videos. Because I got decent footage on all this stuff too. I'm pretty excited about sharing that with you. If you look too, I want to tell you too, this is pretty cool. We're up to 16,500 friends of Bungie on the YouTube channel. Can you believe that? That is just the coolest thing to me. I'm not 100% not into this just for subscribers or anything like that, but I do like sharing that crossbow message, and it is great that many people are interested in this. I just think that's fantastic. Old Grumpy Hunter, keeping the stats for me here. 3.8 deer a year over 10 years. That's pretty close. Yep. Actually, 3.8 or 3.7. Somewhere in there. You might be right. Actually, he's got his finger right on the pulse there, right on the numbers for the number of deer that we shot. But it has been a banner year. That's the way it is. Wilmer Roku Rock. And forgive me on the names. I'm terrible with this stuff. But how is water in PA today? The water is just fine. We aren't getting any rain or anything like that, if that's what you're asking me. Jack Lawrence, hello to Florida. That's fantastic. Jason Mallory in Pennsylvania, 1 doe and 1 buck. Bill Scott, so are you going to stay with the Rage Broadheads? Wow, what a question. If you look at I'm going to do a video just on Rage Broadhead entrance and exit wounds for you, just to share that stuff with you. And I'm going to show you some pictures in this. I actually have a graphic warning that I'm going to put on the screen so that you know to look away if you are offended by such things. But I'm going to show you some bloody pictures during this one too. So it's those broadheads. I'm blown away by them. I really am. Totally. I have said this over and over and over, and I still maintain that just because they work great for me, these Rage Crossbow hypodermics, little, those open, those 2.5 inch cut, whatever they are, just because they work well for me does not mean that you should use them. You need to test out what's most accurate with your gear. These have worked for me phenomenally, though. I really do love them, and I will not be straying from them. They're just working for me. That's just the way it is. So, Yakking Patton shot 3 deer this year in 3 days. Well, that's pretty efficient crossbow hunting there, or hunting in general. That's pretty, I don't care what you're using, that's pretty efficient. You're doing something right? That's pretty good. And 2 does and 1 buck. That's what more can you ask for, Yakking Patton? Send me those pictures. Either get on the Facebook page, or I think on the web page we can do that too. Let's talk a little bit about that too before we get too deep into this stuff. We've got the Death by Bungee Facebook page, and I do want to share with you guys just one little tip if you haven't done it already. This isn't the Death by Bungee Facebook page. This is deathbybungee.com. You can go to my webpage, deathbybungee.com. It's under construction, doing a lot more on it. The store theoretically is working. The media just tells different things like how to watch Death by Bungee on YouTube and all that. There's a contact form to get a hold of me if you want to do that. Some really cool pictures down the bottom here. Got a picture of the Maryland buck. I've got to update that as well. And then we've got here a subscription form where you can fill in your name and email address and sign up for the Death by Bungee newsletter. If you haven't done that, go in there and do that. I think that'll be a lot of fun, and I think you might get something out of that. At least that is my hope. So I can start sharing that stuff with you in the off season. You may not be checking your YouTube as much, may not be on the Facebook as much looking at that stuff, but I can send you the occasional email with little things that's going on, maybe some polls, looking for input, stuff like that. Lever Action, thank you very much for the super chat. He's sending me $5 because I'll need coffee to get through all the editing that I have to do this year. Boy, is that true. I really appreciate that. That is fantastic. That's great. I really do appreciate it. Yep. Let's go look at some stuff here, okay? We've talked about all that stuff. I want to start. I'm just going to run through this. Bill Russell, absolutely. Zombies got to eat too. Boy, isn't that true? Isn't that true? They got to fill the freezer too, I guess. I'm going to go through some pictures here just to share with you some pictures. Some of these you might have seen before because I did a virtual deer camp not too long ago where I talked about this stuff. Where have we seen this before? Just to give you an update here, since the season ended, Genevieve and I started watching on my outdoor TV. I don't have any cable or direct TV or anything like that anymore, but we can stream hunting shows off my outdoor TV, and that includes Spirit of the Wild with Ted Nugent. So we started all the way back on season 20. These are some old reruns that I've seen before, and it's so great to watch them again, but where have we seen this before? I really enjoy that. So when I get a chance to hear him say that, I'm like, Genevieve, like, oh, that's great. This is what he always, that's his thing. It's like all hail Bungee. You got to have your thing that you say, that kind of thing. But look at this. This is that video. I showed you this before, picture of me. I actually learned how to refletch some arrows this year, and this one had lost a fletching, lost a vein during some target shooting. So I went through, and what I did, I got one of these little jigs here, and I actually reveined that arrow. So it's got fresh ones on it. That's important because I'm going to show you later on the results of using that arrow. Okay, so I'm kind of trying to build the suspense here. But if we go and look on here, I've showed you some of these before. That's the 100-year-old apple tree. We really, what more can you say about this when you've had that so much success under that? This tree has pretty much died off. It looks like, you can see here, if you look at this picture, you can tell that the majority of the trees in the area still had all their leaves on here in early October, yet the 100-year-old apple tree was just about de-leaved. It was just about out of leaves, out of foliage. dropping apples here and there, but I did manage to get a few hunts in there. Genevieve and I sat down there when it was really cold. She was working a camera for me, all warmed up the best she could be, and we had the crossbow there set up. Now, it's Genevieve and I, specifically, I got to tell you, Genevieve and I did not have any success together. Saw some deer, and she prevented me from shooting a button buck. Not that I have any, I've shot button bucks before, don't get me wrong, and if that's what you choose to do, that's fine. I tried to avoid that because we're looking for a big doe to put in the freezer, and in this particular case, there was one that was out there, and she's looking at it through the camera, zooming in a little bit, and she was able to tell that it was a button buck. I wouldn't have known if she hadn't been there. I probably would have shot that deer. So it was nice to have her on board here, and then, naturally, you know how this stuff is, that button buck showed up every 2 hours all day long. He's constantly coming in there. She's like, yeah, that's him again. So she was able to sort of, it's kind of funny when you build that relationship with a deer and you start to say, oh, I know that deer. That's kind of funny, you know, like we've seen him before. And waiting for that deer's mother is really what we're waiting for. But, you know, this time of year, those button bucks wander around alone and they aren't bringing the does in with them. In fact, sometimes they're chasing the does out. So I do want to throw up one little warning here. I love it when we get to put these things up. Graphic hunting images. You've been warned. I just typed that up before this. I thought that was kind of funny. But I did want to give you that one little warning, just to be fair. Old Grumpy Hunter, thank you, sir, for the $5 for the super chat. Really, you guys don't feel obligated to do this, but it is so appreciated. It really is. Start work tomorrow, go back to work, start buying the iced coffees again. There we go. You know the routine. So, but it really is appreciated. I'm just happy to have this many people logging on here and enjoying this stuff with me. I don't know how many people we got, but I'm betting it's enough because I'm seeing lots and lots of comments, and you guys keep the comments going. So I'm having a great time with this, and I hope you are too. When I wanted to go back here, though, because I wanted to show you what the results of our hunt. It was sort of between Maryland hunts. I did manage to get a doe on the ground. I shot a big old doe here, really nice shot, and I got to tell you, now that's a pretty gruesome picture. She went about 40, 50 yards. That was a good shot, hit both lungs, and I got to tell you, the video on this one, I was zoomed in with the DSLR, and I think it turned out pretty nice. So I'm excited to share that with you. That'll be about 2 weeks from now. I should have it edited and up. So I'm excited about that. Now I want to go back and show you this is the broadhead I use. That's the Rage Crossbow hypodermic. I really, really do love those broadheads. You know, you got to have they have the little collar on them. You can see that little red collar there. Pretty handy, you know. Those are you know, pretty good stuff. I think they are. And that's a cool picture. I just thought it was a cool picture. I was able to get a little bit of a light flare there on my on the lens with that with the cell phone. But nonetheless, nothing fancy. These are just over-the-counter broadheads. You know, I don't use anything fancy as far as arrows are concerned. They're Easton Firebolt arrows. I put Luminox on them because I really like that. It really helps with the filming and all that. But that's the broadhead. Now, that's the broadhead after it went through that doe, all chewed up there. And, you know, it'll bend a blade. You can buy replacement blades. You can straighten blades, do all that good stuff. But really, you know, it is what it is. I don't think, you know, if you want to get picky, you can get picky with this stuff. I am not really one of those guys, and I think that's one of the reasons that the crossbow appeals to me. Compound guys, when you talk to compound guys that, you know, hunt with a compound bow, they're also bow experts. I mean, because you know, that's got to be custom made to fit to you and your size of arms and the width of your shoulders and where your eye is and where you're going to pull it back every time. And, you know, if you put this on your string, it slows it down by this many feet per second. And you got to have a certain length of arrow and all that good stuff. With a crossbow, I just bought a kit from Excalibur that had, you know, for $586 back in 2010, and started with that, and I just shot stuff with that, right? And then over the years, I've developed and changed and tweaked this, tweaked that, put the quieting gear on there. I've changed the string out to a faster string, sticking with the same company or factory arrows, although I upgraded them to having the Luminox installed. And I've toyed with broadheads. Okay, I'm on my third variety of broadheads, but I got to tell you, I like them, and I got the system I got down now is pretty good. I can see a little bit of room for improvement that I'll play around with in the next year or so, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the way things are going, and I hope you're on the same track with your crossbow. Crossbows, to me, don't require that tweaking. Don't require you to be an expert, and that's one of the things I like about it. I can spend more time doing my videos, more time spending time with my family, more time hunting, instead of tweaking and redoing this and changing that and everything else. That's just the way it is. So the way it is, you can get as picky as you want with this stuff. And if you want to get picky with crossbow stuff, you certainly can. So there's nothing wrong with that. But anyway, that's what I'm thinking on that. Now that is a good looking arrow right there, if you ask me. That looks like it's been through a lot of important deer parts. I can't name all the deer parts, but what I see on that arrow looks like something a deer would consider quite important. Might even say vital. Get it? Vitals. Okay. Enough of the dad jokes, right? We'll go back to the... But if you look at it here, that's gone through a lot of important stuff on a deer. So here we are. Here's these graphic images. You ready? So again, I'm going to throw up our graphic thing again. You have been warned. Look away if that stuff bothers you, because here it comes, okay? Boom. This is it. There's the heart. Or excuse me, that's not the heart. That's the lung. The heart was untouched, and I actually took the heart out. And I took that heart out, and I put that in a little thermos and put some ice on it, and put it, in a baggie and all that stuff. And I took that to work, and one of my co-workers took that home for her husband. She's actually a vegetarian. She doesn't eat meat, but her husband loves deer meat, and he enjoyed that heart. She wouldn't even look at the heart, of course, and that's great. If she don't want to eat that, that's great. But he enjoyed that, and I thought that was awesome. I got a chance to share it with somebody that appreciates it. But man, look at the job that rage did. One of the things that people complain about with mechanicals is it going to open too soon? Is it going to open on impact? And then they go so far as to complain, well, does it stay open throughout the deer? That was one of the complaints about the Rage, because they're kind of jangly blades. Once they're deployed, they're kind of flopping all over the place, and they can close up a little bit as it's going through the deer. Not really, because the tension, the pressure is going to push back on those blades, hold them open, at least in my opinion. But they don't lock down the way the X-Act or the NAPs, the Spitfires, that sort of thing, or the Grim Reapers. They open up and lock down. These don't lock. They float a little bit. And you can see in that one picture of the used Broadhead where they're kind of offset, right? But you can tell also from looking at that lung, man, they stayed open going through that. That's a nice big hole. This is a bad one here. This is the actual, are you ready? I love these pictures, but again, look away if this stuff bothers you. But here it goes. Are you ready? Here it goes. Kaboom. Right? That is the entrance wound. And I am not helping this out in any way. Like, seriously, like I am not joking here. You can see the cut, right? You can see the blood all over the place, but the hide was completely opened up. There's like a 4-inch gash. And this was, in all seriousness, this was a pretty much broadside shot quartering away. It was a perfect quartering away shot. Perfect arrow placement, in my opinion. To pat myself on the back here, it was a good shot, and you'll see this in the video in a couple of weeks here. But man, it opened up a hole on that hide like you wouldn't believe. That deer, I didn't end up bothering to track it with a blood trail, but I'm betting blood trail. When you look at that picture, blood trail's not really a big concern. It was not going to be a problem. The blood on that deer, blood all over the place. In tracking that deer, I just looked for a belly, and I walked out through the woods a little bit and found the belly, no problem. So we were able to get that deer and get her done, get her all cleaned up, gutted, and hauled back up to the house. Anonymous Aaron, thank you very much, sir, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Boy, I'm really going to have plenty of coffee this week. And I had a coffee before this live stream, which was a bad idea. And you can tell I'm talking way too fast, and I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. That's what it comes down to. But we will make up for it tomorrow, right, at work. We'll see how we make out. But I'm not going to miss this live stream. I owed you guys a live stream, and I've had some really good stuff here going, so I wanted to make sure I had that opportunity. Buck pictures coming in just a second here. Let's catch up on some of these the comments. I see you guys are talking about Old Grumpy Hunter is saying that the $5 is for the non-legal advice you gave me. Yeah, we've been talking a lot. He is getting into filming his own hunts, and I think that's fantastic, and it's great to talk to him about that kind of stuff. Anybody ever wants to talk about that stuff, I am all for it. So that's the way I look at it. We've got people talking about replacement blades for their Rage broadheads. I have not done much on that, but I will tell you that Old Grumpy Hunter has done a video on replacing some blades for his broadheads, and I thought those worked out pretty good. Got people from Ontario on here. That's fantastic. I was just looking at websites to go bear hunting in Ontario next year. I'm thinking of doing. So if you have any tips for outfitters up that way, I will take a look at them. Hunt, Indiana. That will happen someday, too. Jennifer Robinson, Spitfires do not lock down. I thought they did. I thought they actually, well, I mean, lockdown is maybe the wrong term, but I know, like with my X-Act Broadhead, those 3 blades, you got the chisel tip on top, which I like. I like the chisel tip, but the blade sort of snaps down. Once it snaps down, I mean, you can open them back up. They're not locked down the way a knife blade would, but they tend to stay down a little bit better than the Rages. The Rages sort of flop around and all that stuff, but again, seriously, they pretty much all work. They are what they are. But the hole that you get with these Rages is just obscene. That's the reason I like them. But so nice looking hole, Daniel Varane. You got that right, man. You and I are on the same page there. But again, they all work, and if they're working for you, I don't tell people you got to pick one broadhead over another. These work for me, and man, do they work for me. I think 11 deer now with these broadheads, and they've just done an awesome job. I got nothing to complain about. But they may not work with your gear. They just tend to work with my gear. So that's where I'm at. CJ Molnar, Stevie Wonder could track that one. Pretty much. He would have tripped over it because that white belly didn't go very far and it was just laying there. It's one of those ones where you go looking for the belly, you know what I'm saying? So I like those. I'm all over those. And Old Grumpy Hunter, that was 1 shot, 1 kill, just so you know. That one. I can't say that with all of them this year, but I've had a heck of a year. Got a whole kinds of... Bill Scott, meet and greet for bear. Boy, there's one for you. That'd be pretty neat. Michael Lear, Rage has a chisel tip. Indeed, I sure love that. I like it's pretty much a chisel tip, yep. It's got that nice point to it. I really do like those. They're a good broadhead. Herb Caldwell, welcome to Death by Bungee. Hello down in Delaware. Dwayne White likes the Swackers. They are a massive broadhead too. Boy, I do like those. They're a good one. Lever action, 1 shot, 1 kill. Here, I hear that. Yep, there we go. You guys are catching up with me on that. That's pretty funny. I'm catching up in the comments there. That's great stuff. And yes, Amish Sasquatch, I do remember. We've talked about the Grim Reapers. That is a good one. Bill Scott, if I had one venison meal, what would it be? I was asked that question on a podcast that I did, that Carnivore podcast, which you can go check that out. The Carnivore is part of the Sportsman's Network of podcasts. They have one on there. It's not Carnivore, Huntivore, I'm sorry. Huntivore is the name of the podcast. It's a play on Carnivore. And we talked about my song, Carnivore, on there. Thought that was pretty cool. He asked me about that, and I think really probably... man, I'm telling you, anything in a crock pot. I'm still hooked on crock pots. But I got to tell you, I made tacos this week. That was on the Facebook page. Made tacos with ground canned venison. Canned ground venison. Can you believe that? It was raw packed, canned it over the summer. It was a deer I shot in Maryland last year. I think it was doe number 3 or something like that from Maryland last year. Made tacos out of that. It was phenomenal. That stuff is just the best. You just can't ask for more than that. And then, so ground venison, that's right now... If it's canned, that's one of my favorites. So anything with that, that's probably where I would be right now. So, lever action, that mushroom venison crock pot was excellent. Man, I'll bet. That just, anything with mushrooms too. But anything with a crock pot. You really, once you get it, you don't have to do it all at once. That's another thing about this. Like with the crossbow, when I got into that, you can start buying gear and you can, you can tweak everything the first year if you want to, or you can just, I like to just ease into it and what's not working, change what's not working, and really enjoy what is working. Same thing with cooking. I still have not mastered the grill. I still have not bought a smoker. We're going to attempt to make jerky this year. Probably next weekend we'll make a batch. That's the kind of thing, I've got the crock pot down. I can make some meals that are just phenomenal, and I cannot improve on them. I think they're just awesome. And there's other things I can do really well. The canning, I've been doing that for 3 years now. Got that down for the most part. I feel pretty comfortable with that. Jerky's the next thing. We're going to make some jerky. Then maybe we'll get into some more of the specialty meats or something like that. But you don't need to do it all at once. Start, if you're new to this stuff, if you're new to crossbow hunting, new to hunting, let somebody else process your deer. Learn how to field dress first. You don't have to learn how to skin it and process it, quarter it up, do all that work all at once. That's a goal for down the road maybe, but it doesn't have to be what you do the first time. That's an awful lot to tackle. Learn how to field dress it. Watch some videos ahead of time when you shoot your first deer. If you can field dress that deer properly, then you can feel proud about the fact that you did it. Take that to a processor and let them turn that into the family-sized portions and all that good stuff. And enjoy that. And then you bring that back there and then cook that up, right? And start with recipes that you know and understand, that you feel comfortable with. And then build on those recipes. Do a little bit more next time. That's what you do. That's how this stuff works. So I think that's what we got to do. So hopefully that's, if there's anybody new out there and you like that kind of stuff, think about that. Andrew Finley. Hello to you, sir. Good to hear from you again. Highly recommend Nesco products for jerky. Thank you. I am looking at that, and I'm looking for a real good kit or whatever, the ingredients for teriyaki flavored jerky. That is what my daughter really likes, is teriyaki. So that's what we're going to be doing. And Old Grumpy Hunter, the jerky he made this year used a smoker with pecan wood chips. I'll bet that was good. Man, nothing wrong with that. That sounds like it would be a lot of good. You guys were talking at the meet and greet. Old Grumpy Hunter there, Gary, he was at our meet and greet there at the Tioga Boar Preserve. And you go back and watch his video if you want to. He had one of the top shots, that's for sure, on his boar that he shot on his hog. And but they were talking about smokers at that. That was good stuff. Let's go look at some more pictures here. Who's up for some more pictures? I think you guys are always up for more pictures. Do you recognize who this is? Does anybody recognize the name of this decoy? If you can tell me the name of this decoy, I'm just doing this on a spot here. I will send you some kind of death by bungee hunting swag or something like that. If you know the name of this decoy. It's been in... Andrew Finley is the first person here that I'm seeing. I think Andrew Finley is our winner. And I should have given you guys a heads up. There's no rules with this stuff, but I think maybe I'll start doing more of the giveaway stuff. But Andrew Finley, you're going to have to hit me up. I will send you something with Death by Bungee on it. We'll see what we can do. But you even spelled it right. That's the way we spell it, Buckley. Genevieve made up that name. We were coming up with, what's the name of your decoy there? And, so we come up with Buckley. Technically now, this one doesn't have the antlers, but this could also be called Dolly. And we have actually, I see that. Wow, we got some real friends of Bungee on here. Bradley Westmoreland is also putting on here Dolly. So here's what I'm going to do. I got two winners. I think that's the only fair way to do it. Technically, that's Buckley. Okay, because it's the same decoy. But when you take the antlers off, Genevieve calls it Dolly. It was just one of these jokes where she's trying not to let me down, you know what I mean? I was like, so what are we going to call it now, Genevieve, with no antlers? She's like, I don't know, Dolly. Like, she really didn't care, but she made that up. So Bradley Westmoreland, hit me up on either Facebook or the deathbybungee.com. There's a contact form on there. Send me your name and address and all that stuff, and I'll make sure I hook you up with something. I'm looking into decals and all that stuff, getting a store running on the website. Maybe we'll get something like that going on, and I will send you guys some fun stuff. At least something to make your post-Pennsylvania crossbow season a little bit more exciting. I don't know. But thank you for knowing that. Man, I'm telling you, friends of Bungee for sure. When you got this many people, because there's tons of names on here. There's tons of people responding that Locks, Bach, Bill Russell, Old Grumpy Hunter is getting this. Gary Antilla. I'm just looking at name after name. You guys are just coming up with all this stuff. And the fact that a couple of you even got Dolly out of that. That's awesome. You guys are watching some Death by Bungee. So thank you very much. Thank you you really kind of made my day with that. That's pretty cool. But anyway, old Buckley here, or Dolly, if you want to call it Dolly. If you look over the right-hand side of that decoy back in there, you can see this giant hemlock tree. And there's another one next to it, a little grove of hemlocks right there. I was sitting over there in that little collection. That's where I sat. And I'm going to go through some pictures here. That's the buck I shot. That's my nice little 6-point that I shot. I didn't set out that day to go shooting a deer. I didn't set out that day to shoot this buck. But to be honest with you, here's the thing. This year, I took the cameras down because I had the scrapes out and I was working. There were some nice bucks early on, way back in October. Then they disappeared off the cameras. Every time I had a camera up, every deer in the picture was looking at the camera. So I started thinking, look, those cameras are discouraging the deer activity. They're turning off the deer, especially the more mature deer. And I had a couple of nice bucks, just 2-year-old bucks. But for me, those are nice bucks. Here in Pennsylvania, that's a big deal for me. Like, if I can get a 2-year-old buck, that's a big deal. A lot of what we do here is dependent on the neighborhood, the neighbors, the whole bit. So, but this buck, There's a few bucks this size on here. And I didn't really set out to shoot another deer that day just to play around with the decoy. But what ended up happening is he came in to my right, chasing a doe. She was just booking, right? She had no interest in this guy at all. She was running. He came in and he stopped dead in his tracks the minute he saw that decoy. When he saw this decoy, he immediately stopped and came over to investigate. And what am I going to do? You know, there's me sitting there nice and cold, got Bungie there on the right. Makes for a nice picture. This guy processed him as fresh as can be, but I'm going to go through it here. Not the biggest buck by any stretch of the imagination. I have shot smaller bucks than this. I have shot bigger bucks than this, and I'm probably going to shoot more bucks smaller than this and probably going to shoot more bucks bigger than this, hopefully. So that's just the way it is, and this fills my Pennsylvania crossbow antlered tag. But I've got enough deer now where I don't feel like I feel pressured to even hunt anymore. I can work on doing the videos and start planning for next year. I've got a lot of exciting things in the works here, both video-wise and hunt-wise. There's a lot coming. Excuse me, but we also have, what a clean, healthy-looking animal this thing was. He was just, when I looked at him, I'm seeing back straps, I'm seeing a freezer full of stuff, I'm seeing a nice European mount hanging on the wall. Genevieve, my daughter, loves these European mounts and loves having stuff like that hanging on the wall, right? The bones and stuff like that. And so, hey, it's my buck tag to use on any legal deer. That's the legal deer we chose. And like I said, Death by Bungie is not about big bucks. I think, here's a funny thing too. Look at this. Look at this logo of mine, right? Down in the bottom right-hand corner. That's the logo for Death by Bungie. I think, and this is quite possibly, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm like the only hunting channel that has a logo that doesn't have antlers on it. Isn't that funny? And it kind of worked out that way. But my logo, if you look at it there, it's just a silhouette of me with a crossbow. And it's also the world's largest crossbow. Boy, it's like, this wide or whatever. Look at a Christmas tree on my shoulder. So, but anyway, I just got a kick out of that. And I think that, so that's the way it is. And this was going to make a great story. You're going to love this video. So stick around, watch that stuff. You will love that video. Then I'm going to show you here. Look at the blood trail. Now we had a little bit of snow on the ground. Pretty cool stuff. We got the blood on the leaves there. This deer, I got to tell you though, more blood on the leaves. This deer, I want to be clear, went 20 yards. I'm not kidding. This deer came in. And I have footage of this, he tries to mount the decoy, okay? I should have a graphic image thing just on the screen for this, but he does try to get on top of the decoy if you follow me, okay? And David Grillo, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. You guys are just really... I thank you so much, because seriously, and don't feel obligated to do stuff like that at all, but boy, it's appreciated that people love Death by Bungie. I can't say that enough. All these friends of Bungie come in here and tune in, just look at a couple of pictures of a couple deer I shot, but this buck, he mounts that, and as he's getting off, I'm looking through the scope just because I'm trying to film it with a little camera mounted on the side of that. Camera's around here somewhere, but I've got it mounted on the side of the crossbow, you know how I do, and I'm filming it with that, and then I see that he's a legal deer. He's got the brow tines, and he's right there looking away, broadside, hard quartering away shot. Got to take that shot. You're gonna love the footage. It's funny, it's dramatic, it's hunting related, it's beautiful footage. I can't wait to share it with you about 3 weeks from now. That's when it will come out. But let's go back to the wrong pictures here. Holy cow, just throw that in your face. That's just awful. That was the doe. But back to the buck. So here's the blood trail. Are you ready? Here we are going to do. I'm going to do the graphic warning just because I typed it up. Might as well use it, right? So there we go. And then kaboom. There's my entrance wound. It was high, but it did hit both lungs, believe it or not. And this is one shot, one kill. Gary, I don't want to hear otherwise. It's one shot, one kill. And like I said, he went 20 yards. This thing, but look at this broadhead. Man, can you believe this? That's the cut. The hole in that deer, that's a 4-inch long hole from a 2-inch broadhead, Rage Crossbow hypodermic, but it buried it in there, all but 6 inches of arrow into that. At first, I thought, when it made contact, I'm watching it go through the scope. I'm looking as I pull that trigger, and I watch the arrow, the Luminoc, fly through the air and hit that deer, and I thought, oh no, it's high. Oh no, it's high. It's going to be a bad shot. I thought that for that split second, that much time, because immediately I saw blood coming out of that. And I knew that I had clipped the artery that runs on the top of the lungs there, and I clipped the lungs, and, this one, it just tore this deer apart. He only went 20 yards. He trotted 20 yards, stood there and tipped over. I mean, it was instant, relatively painless. Now, I know looking at this, does that look relatively painless? To me and you, it does not. But compared to the many other ways, and this is what I tell folks that are, people who are anti-hunting or question hunting and stuff, compared to the many other ways that deer could have died, this is a pretty painless way to die, because he's dead in 10 seconds. 10 seconds. He went from chasing that doe to dead, a total of 30 seconds. But he got shot, died within 10 seconds. So that's really the way to go. I think you do something like that. But boy, their hat goes off to these broadheads. Once again, can't beat it. So, old grumpy hunter. How many one-shot, one-kill hogs? The answer to that is 2. Just 0 this year, that's all. How's that? Looks like you hit him with a tomahawk, hunting fish and nuts. Hunting fish nuts. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like, I'm really happy with it. It just leaves me speechless sometimes looking at some of these. I'm going to do a video on that. And again, I'm not sponsored by Rage or anything like that. And I'm not telling you to use Rage, because they may not perform like this for you on your gear. I'm using an older, slower crossbow. I doubt there's a person on here that shoots a crossbow that's either older and or slower than Bungie. And but it did it. It does the job. And so if you can do that, that's where we're at, right? So that's where we are at. Brian Blackwell, 3 years and still no deer. Well, I hope that your luck turns around. Maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the year to turn that luck around. Sometimes you got to mix it up a little bit and go somewhere else. I have found that in my experience. All the work that I have done over the years with habitat management, improving my hunting skills somewhat. I don't think I'm the world's greatest hunter by any stretch of the imagination, but I've done a lot of work on this stuff. And the food plot work, the bedding area work, hinge cutting, cleaning up the hinge cutting, cutting firewood, planting stuff in the woods, oak trees and apple trees, everything else. I've almost gone backwards. I'm not even going to say almost. I have flat out gone backwards in terms of the size of bucks in that area. In part because I spent more time in there, but this year I spent less time than ever before in the woods, and the number of deer has just gone downhill. A lot of it has to do with neighbors. Oil and gas is a constant growing presence here in northeastern Pennsylvania, and it has surrounded the property where I grew up. It has sort of chased, I think, more mature deer out of the area and discouraged them from remaining there. I have neighbors with hundreds of acres of corn who have agricultural permits where they are allowed to shoot deer all year long, except for like May and June or something under some kind of agricultural permit. So they shoot antlerless deer all year long, and that's going to whittle down your buck and doe population both. It's just things outside your control. There's only two things you can do. There's only so much you can do, right? So it does change things, it does change things. So, but when I see people saying, look, Brian Blackwell, 3 years with no deer, mix it up a little bit. Maybe there's a place else to go, some other place to go. It's really easy for me to emotionally hold on to the place where I grew up. But on the other hand, I shot a nice deer in Maryland this year. And I might shoot a nice deer in Texas or Ohio or someplace like that, or Indiana, right? Got a request from somebody who wanted to try out Indiana. All of that can happen down the road. The world is our oyster. And that is true of crossbow hunters also. No reason why we have to stay in one spot. So I wonder, these are just one of those neat topics to talk about on here with this stuff. Andrew Finley, looks like you shot it from an elevated stand. I didn't. I actually shot him from the ground. Like I said, it was a little bit high, 20 yards on the nose. It was, there's a good arc to that. That arrow comes down and goes in, and it did end up hitting and it didn't hurt the back straps. I mean, it was below the back straps. It was below the spine. But it didn't hurt the tenderloins either. Those both were extracted nicely. No problem there. This deer, I I will tell you this, I am the best at field dressing and processing deer that I have ever been, because I got more experience. All 7 deer that I shot this year, I quartered up and cleaned them and processed them on the kitchen table. This one I hung up. We actually took all of the meat off, Dr. Grant Woods style. Took all the roasts right off on the bone, put them in a cooler, put them on ice, and then the carcass was all that was left. And I got rid of the carcass. Like, you can't beat that. I've really got, and I'm not trying to brag here, but this is just I really have worked, and that's where I've gotten. This is the point I've gotten to. This is like, a lot of practice is what it is. Practice makes perfect. So pretty neat. We got Lever Action telling me he's got a couple of older, couple of slower crossbows. Old Grumpy Hunter has not an older one, but a slower one. That's probably Parker. I think that's Parker. Am I right? Or is it Strings and Things? I think it's Parker. Parker's the slower one, if I had to guess. I could be wrong on that. Robert George, good to hear from you. Hello to Lily, Pennsylvania. Your first time on here. It's good to have you. That's for sure. Bill Scott, what changes do you do when you boar hunt with bungee? So far, nothing. I've always used whatever broadhead I was using at the time. And that might change next time. And I'll be talking to a couple of people, Marshall Robinson, about getting a heavier arrow, increasing front of center in order to penetrate on a hog, something like that. They have a thicker hide. Just plain and simple. Deer are much more, you can see from that doe picture, the hide is much more tender than those the hogs are, than the boars are. So that is something I will probably be taking into account. In the past, I haven't done anything, and it certainly works. I mean, I have been able to kill 3 boar with this lovely little crossbow. So 3 bore with it. 2 of them were pass-throughs, but they were smaller broadheads also. The other 2 were shot with, one was, in fact, I think they were both shot with the Exact broadhead, which is a smaller broadhead. It's a 3-point, a 3-blade. The Rage slows down your penetration because it's just a bigger broadhead. It's got a bigger cutting diameter. The other thing about this is that I am now shooting down to about 280 feet per second because of the quieting gear that I added to the crossbow. So that's kind of what it is. One of those deals. So, Christopher Burt, I have never filled a buck tag in 29 years of hunting. There's always this year. Maybe let's make this the year if that's what you're trying to do, or hold off and don't. If you're shooting does and you're really getting something out of it, I think it's important to shoot some deer to get comfortable with the concept and the process. So I think people shouldn't hold out just for bucks. I think you really need to shoot does, or maybe spike bucks or whatever else is legal. Shoot legal deer to build up your confidence, build up your skill level, build up your ability to process those deer once the hunt is over. It's all about familiarity and processing, familiarity and procedure. You just need to get that stuff down. So hopefully that's helpful. Yep. Hunt, fish, nuts. If you're not seeing deer where you hunt, move to an area where you're seeing deer. I agree. It's hard to give up some of these things, that's for sure. If you're sentimentally attached to an area, it's very hard to do that. But that is really the way to go. I think you really just need to move over a little bit, look in a different spot, try and talk to new neighbors. It is what it is. Lever Action. Rich, how long is it taking you to process one deer soup to nuts? Field dressing takes me 10, 15 minutes probably to field dress a deer. I'm no expert on this stuff, right? But 10 to 15 minutes to get it all cut up, get all that stuff out of there. I don't do the pelvis and all that stuff until I get up to the hose. This is when I do it here, okay, when I do it in Pennsylvania. Get it up to the hose it out good, and first then I'll cut the pelvis, and I'll cut that with a saw, break that pelvis open, clean that area out good, and then I hose the entire thing out down, right? Then I hang it up. Once that's done, and I start pulling off the skinning, probably takes me 15 minutes to get the skin. I skin it right straight down into a big bucket, into a big garbage can, basically, with a 50-gallon garbage bag, contractor garbage bag. Skin it right down into that. This last one, the buck, we actually kept the hide. the hide is going to get tanned. I took that to a taxidermist along with the skull. So we're going to have this nice European mount of this little 6-point that'll look hanging on the wall, hang that up there. And I'm going to have a really nice sort of blanket of the hide to hang over the back of the couch, hang over a table or something like that, and then display, hang it on the wall, whatever, display it somewhere in the house. So I'm pretty excited about that. We've never done that before. Genevieve very, very interested in that, so we decided to do that. So I think that'll be pretty cool. So I think that's the way to do it. But I think it probably took me 2 hours altogether to get the meat off, the hide off, to get the meat off the bone into the cooler, and get all the stuff cleaned up at the end of it and everything else. It's taken a couple. I mean, it's not a rush job. I don't rush it, and it is what it is. The gutless method, I've never tried. I've seen people do that. This works well for me though. Like I don't mind leaving just the guts in the woods, and then I don't mind, taking the trip over to the local. The garbage, their garage, the garbage company, their garage right in town. I don't mind dragging the contractor bag over there and throwing it in their dumpster and paying them for it. They charge me an extra $5 just to throw a deer carcass away. Not a big deal. Here's a funny story. So I take the carcass over there in a bag, and the guy that I normally deal with wasn't there. He's a friend of mine. I know him well. He used to live across the street here and everything. But I saw him there. And I pulled on there, and I'm like, hey, I got a deer. Can I throw that in the back there? And they'll just add it to my bill and all that. And the guy looks at me, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if we're allowed to take deer. And he goes, hey, Jim, or whatever. He's like, hey, are we allowed to take deer? Can we put deer in the truck, in the garbage truck? And the guy goes, there's like 3 or 4 deer in there already. Like, yeah, that's no problem. This isn't the first one we had. But it's just that one guy didn't realize he was putting deer in there. So it is what it is. So, boy, we got all kinds of comments on here. People are just, they've got full of stuff here. All kinds of good stuff. But is that just a great shot or what? So I am very proud of that. Very happy with that. That's the end of basically the end of our videos there, or end of the pictures that I was going to share from you. And now the Pennsylvania Crossbow season has wrapped up. That's the end of that. We are now looking forward to, we got Thanksgiving coming up, right? Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Hope you have some venison with your Thanksgiving dinners. The following week, we have our Pennsylvania rifle season starts up. And that's a challenge for a crossbow hunter. Now, the first week of that, I think, is still buck only, so I cannot hunt during that first week. I do not have a buck tag left in Pennsylvania. Hard to shoot a buck running 100 miles an hour anyway, because that's what happens during rifle season, right? But I might go out and try and get a doe during that season. I have two doe tags left. I might try a doe in that rifle season, a doe in the late season, which starts after Christmas. Do have a couple little plans for some late season hunts, so that we're not necessarily completely out of hunting, but I really need to get caught up on the videos. I need to make some jerky. Need to get a couple of canning episodes done. And when I say episodes, I'm talking about sitting in the kitchen and canning 16 pounds per episode. So maybe I make a video about that, or maybe I don't. I don't know. It's very hard for me to film a lot of stuff because it's just me, and I don't have anybody running the camera. But maybe I can convince Genevieve to run the camera. But usually if she's going to help out, I got her cleaning jars and doing all that stuff for me if we're doing that. So Dakota Bowman, hello to Ohio. Hello to you, sir. It's good to hear from you. Middle of rifle season in Kentucky and not seeing anything, old grumpy hunter. I think are you still hunting with the crossbow though? I think you are, because I think I saw on our Death by Bungee group Facebook page, you were commenting on there about that, going back out there. And either way, I hope you're having some good success down there. And happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Dwayne Covey. Lots of names that I reckon, and I'm glad to hear that, old grumpy hunter, and I hope it works out well. Stacy Bratton's here. Well, good to see her from you. Look at that. She's on our Death by Bungee Facebook group page as well. Starting the old rifle season up there in New York. We should share favorite recipe files on your Facebook page. That's a fact. Boy, that's a good idea, actually. Those various recipes and stuff. Because what I try to do on my Facebook page, when I make dinner, I'm snapping pictures with a cell phone, sharing them on the Facebook page. If you're on the Facebook page, you'll see those. If you're not, and you like that kind of stuff, check it out. Because now that hunting is winding down for me, and I'm moving more into the processing and the cooking side of it, that's the place to come and look for that kind of stuff, because it's real easy for me to make dinner, take pictures of each step in the process, and share those pictures. So hopefully you guys like that stuff. Take a look at it. But Stacy, that is a great idea. We should start doing that. Actually, I should start a separate way to do it so that we can sort of put them on file. I wish Facebook gave us a way to sort of have a file of those so that you can just find the recipes. But if we put the word recipe in it, maybe it's something we can search and do all that kind of stuff. But please do post those recipes on there. I love that stuff. And keep posting those pictures of the bucks and does and all that stuff that you're hunting. Turkeys, the whole bit. I love that. So we're getting wrapped up here. It is awesome that we are getting close to, and I'm reading these comments too. So Stacy says awesome, thanks, and that's why I'm saying the word awesome. So I'm looking at that. But it is getting close to the 1 hour mark. I got to save some voice for work this week to be able to talk there. And lever action, did I get 6 deer this year? Yes, I did. In fact, I got 7. Yeah, and I'm not bragging. Once again, I'm telling you, doesn't usually work out like this. This is the best year crossbow hunting I've ever had. Few reasons. I shot a Sika deer. I've wanted to shoot one for a long time, made numerous efforts to do that, and finally shot myself a Sika stag. Nice little spike buck that I could not be prouder of. I shot that stag while I was wearing waders. Can you believe that? Wait till you see that video this week, hopefully. I've shot probably what is my last deer under the 100-year-old apple tree. Probably will never shoot another deer under that 100-year-old apple tree. I shot a nice little buck over Decoy from the ground. Something I've always wanted to do, something I try year after year after year to do. It's a little 6-point buck, but it means the world to me because it's an accomplishment like nothing I have been able to accomplish before. I'm so proud of that. Like the plan worked out perfect. There's a Decoy right in front of me. He's me sitting in the trees on the ground, waiting for this deer to come in, and then not screwing it up. It's a big deal. I shot the biggest buck I've ever shot in my life in Maryland. Big old 8-point, real tall. It's gonna be gorgeous on the wall, and I can't wait to share the pictures of that with you down the road. I've shot does down here in Maryland, doe up here in Pennsylvania, just like it's supposed to be, shooting does and keeping your skills sharp and filling your freezer and everything else, and just enjoying and appreciating each one of those efforts, each one of those hunts. And I've gotten to share it with all you folks who came out, taking some time off on your Sunday to listen to these stories, look at these pictures, share your comments with me, share your stories with me, recipes, what have you. I have that with over 16,500 today, Friends of Bungee on this YouTube channel. 2,500 Friends of Bungee on the Facebook page, and almost 1,000 people like in our Death by Bungee group page, sharing some great stories on there and pictures of all kinds of animals that they've been able to chase with their crossbows. And now as we're getting into rifles and muzzleloader stuff like that too. But really just people that appreciate the crossbow as much as I do. What more can I ask for? This has been the best year of my crossbow life. Completely. And I just hope it continues. I mean, I'll never top this. It can't get better than this, right? But, just keep getting out there and enjoying it. I hope you're having a great year too. I cannot tell you, how much everything that I've done this season has been great. And it all started with that meet and greet. Actually, let's go back a step further. It started with a dry fire on a live stream out in the backyard. It started off pretty rough. I dry fired it in front of hundreds of people. That's a rough start to a crossbow season. But then we went to the meet and greet, and I shot a boar with Genevieve running the camera. And I killed that boar, but it took me 2 arrows. And I took a good ribbing from that. But it was worth it. Just a great year. Just a great year. To wrap it up this way, shooting a nice little buck over a decoy. Something I've been working on. I've been trying. You've watched me try and shoot stuff from the ground before, hunting turkeys and that. Cannot sit still, but I pulled it off. I finally pulled it off. So we'll see how that goes. It's just been a great season. So 7 deer, I know that I am completely blessed. And, Loxbog, ever use Rhodes taxidermy? Yeah, he did my 2016 buck. He is tanning the hide on my 6-point buck from this year, and he is doing the European mount this year from Rhodes taxidermy. How cool is that you know the guy that's doing my current taxidermist? How great is that? Boy, I can't top that. What a great season. Professor Kent, I just went on a rant about what a great year I've had and how I'll never top it. And I showed probably the best Broadhead entrance wounds you'll ever see in your life. So you should go back and watch the rerun, Professor Kent. Robert Peck, it's great to hear from you. I really hope you got out there and had a great season. And Professor Kent, yep, I am saving all the rest of them for you. All the rest of them. I think I'm done for this season. I shouldn't say that. I say that now, but man, it's like, after Thanksgiving, it'll be like, well, I really ought to go sit down here and see what happens. And then the late season is like, oh, I still got a couple tags, blah, blah, blah. You know how it is. So, I am great. I am so grateful for you guys to get on here and share this with me. I am going to type one little thing here. Let me put the caps lock on because this is important. And I want to make sure that I spell it correctly and that you get it. Bam! There it is. There it is. All hail Bungie. You got a lever action. Thank you guys so much. I hope your seasons are going great. I hope they are. And I want to hear more about it. Facebook page, deathbybungie.com. You can share your comments with me. You can get on there and you can contact me on there by email, whatever. And we will do that. City Sticker, Chris. Great to have you here. I'm just great to see all you guys. I cannot wait until next time we get together. We'll see how this goes. Keep an eye out on the YouTube channel. And until next time, all hail Bungie. Thanks a lot, you guys. Seriously, thank you very much. Thanks for joining me.